basically talking about the bill that was supposedly condemning uh, political violence, but it was really to honor Charlie Kirk. There was barely anything about political violence in there. It was about honoring his legacy, which was basically kissing Trump's ass, and it was to honor this and that his biblical truths. Which, why are we even talking about that in a session of Congress when we have a separation of church and state, which of course Republicans don't believe, unless it was Muslims that were the predominant religion, and then they'd freak the fuck out. So anyways, so this thing's honoring this guy who was a racist, a sexist, a guy, whatchamacallit, a transphobe, all these things, who said things like, if a black pilot, if I was on the plane and the pilot was black, I'd be worried if he was qualified, and shit like that. And it's not because he was talking about them hiring more minorities and women, but he always had to go straight to black people. And everything was anti-white this and anti-white this, and it was a conspiracy. The guy was a white supremacist. The guy adhered to white supremacist conspiracy theories, such as the social Marxism conspiracy theory. He adhered to the Great Replacement theory, where there was this plot to turn white people into a minority, and we couldn't have that. Well, why are they worried about white people becoming minorities? Do we treat minorities bad or something? But anyways, it was said to, they're claiming that it was about political violence, but where were they when Elizabeth Hortman, I believe that's what her name was, a Democratic politician, was shot and killed? Where were the flags at half-mast for a politician? They weren't, but because it was a Democrat. Did Trump even mention them or condemn it? No, he didn't say crap. But when a debate bro like Charlie Kirk, because he promoted Trump, was shot, all of a sudden, let's condemn political violence. Let's condemn political violence. Yes, we should condemn political violence, but I call upon Republicans to call out political violence when it's one of theirs shooting people on the other side of things. So they want to condemn political violence when it comes to some debate bro podcaster who wasn't really that important. He wasn't even as important as Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro's not even that important. Sorry, man, my nose is itching, so I keep messing with it. But anyways, so this supposedly to condemn political violence, the right doesn't give a damn about political violence as long as it's the Democrats that are getting killed. When it's some guy who wasn't even that much of an importance. Okay, let me put in here, yes, I do condemn the killing of Charlie Kirk. That's not how we deal with it. I've said this on other videos. We deal with people like Charlie Kirk by openly debating them, to studying what they're talking about and going there with facts. Because when Charlie Kirk gets handed facts, he starts mixing a story around. He starts changing things, and he starts all of a sudden having the opposite stance he had in order to just try to defeat you. So there's a lot of Charlie Kirks out there, and we can't just shoot them all. Nobody should shoot anybody. But to act as if you're condemning political violence when you're honoring this guy that really didn't deserve to be honored, when there was no resolution to condemn the shooting of Elizabeth Hortman, there was no resolution to honor her, and she was a politician. There was no flag at half-staff. There was no mention of it by Trump at all. So you're going to tell me that it's about political violence? They're fine with political violence as long as it's just Democrats that are getting shot. They're okay when it's Republicans shooting Democrats. But when it's a person that we don't even know. So far, it doesn't seem like he's that political. And if he was raised by Republican Mormons. He was raised in a pro-Trump family, a pro-gun family, gun culture. So, like, they tried to just throw it out there. And truthfully, we don't know. There's been no information out there. There's been a bunch of speculation, but the speculation all has to do with the fact that he had a trans roommate that may or may not have been, he might have been romantically involved. And we don't know because there's been a lot of misinformation out there and they've been using this to try to go against trans people. But they're going by that and by some crap that's actually a thing they say in some video game, and they're claiming he was Antifa and blah, 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 just from things like that. So they have no idea. And if you were going to go by actual facts and looking at things, it's more likely that he leans right just because of his upbringing. I mean, because truthfully, technically, some of us change our beliefs, but a lot of us are what we are raised. I still am a staunch liberal. I mean, I'm not a Democrat. I'm more of an independent. I don't think either party that ever is in power has our best interests in mind. They don't care. They care about their campaign donations. They care about getting elected. They'll say anything to get you elected, and then they won't fight for you. They'll fight for their own ideologies, for what they want to do. They don't even care about Charlie Kirk. You think they really care about Charlie Kirk? No, they're just using him, as Jimmy Kimmel said, to score political points to further their agenda. But oh my God, we better not say that or they'll can us. So, and this thing, there's another thing. People are like, well, the First Amendment doesn't protect you from getting fired if your employer disagrees with you politically. Well, then we need to change that. We need to make a law that they cannot fire people for their political beliefs, because then it gets to the point where you can't have your beliefs anywhere. You can't voice your opinion anywhere. So if nobody that works can express themselves with speech, then we don't have free speech. We have an amendment that used to work, but now doesn't work in a society that's 250 years down the line. We're 250 years down the line, and we're in a society where just the First Amendment does not protect our freedom of speech. And we should be shielded from being fired because our employers are right-wing and kiss Charlie Kirk's ass. So how about that? How about we do a resolution to make people not be fired just because people disagree with them? You know, if you're saying something like, okay, I kind of see where they're going with the people that were actually cheering on his death, but you know that it doesn't happen the other way around. When Republicans are cheering on deaths of people, they don't get fired. We get fired for pointing out, you know what people have been getting fired for Charlie Kirk for the most part, for quoting him, for reminding people who are trying to glorify this guy and make him into a god. What was my point? Sorry, I kind of got lost here. Well, anyways, these people, they want to honor this guy who was not a good guy, but the whole point is just political agendas. They're trying to, like Trump's trying to, what is this bullshit about Antifa as a terror group? Dude, I haven't even heard about Antifa in like 5 years. And it's like, first of all, Antifa doesn't kill anybody. The worst thing they've done was like throw rocks through windows and shit, and maybe get into fights with counter protesters. And the thing with that is that they're not an organization. They're an ideology, and they're not terrorists. You think Trump cares about terrorists? Then why aren't they going after all these far right, most of them being white supremacist groups? because you got to admit, with on the far right, usually the ones that are the danger are the white supremacists, the ones that have this ideology. So, like, don't say it's about anything more than them trying to use Charlie Kirk to further their own agendas. Like, did you guys see that funeral or whatever it was for him? Like, only his wife spoke. That was the only person that was close to him that spoke. All the other guys were right-wing politicians, people under the Trump administration, basically just trying to rally the troops to basically go to war with half the country just because they disagree with them, and blaming something on a political party when they still haven't released this guy's politics. We don't know shit. They say he's not cooperating. So how are we going to know? I know there's other people that must know, but they're not telling us. So don't jump to conclusions. And I'm sorry. So if you think Jimmy Kimmel should be fired because he said, basically insinuated that the guy was MAGA, and you say it's not true, but when everybody was insinuating that he was far left, which hasn't been proven, they're not justifying people being fired because of that. Well, anyways, this is all I wanted to say. It's not about political violence. They don't care. It's about basically, oh, come on, what's the word? Basically, they're using this guy, they're exploiting this guy's death to further their agenda, and they don't give a shit. Oh, and what's worse is there's a resolution to make a Charlie Kirk coin, not just a commemorative coin, but a fucking coin that you put in your pocket that you use. Yeah, you know what I'll do with that? If you had one of those, I'd freaking throw it. Throw it somewhere. I'd be like, can you please give me another coin that doesn't have this asshole on it? I mean, that's like, what's next? Are we going to have a coin to honor Mussolini or Adolf Hitler or David Duke? So we don't need coins or anything else or spots on college campuses or forcing Oklahoma schools to have chapters of Turning Point USA. If they cared about this guy, they wouldn't be trying to use him to further their fascist agenda. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have to say. So let me see. I don't know how I turn this shit off. This way, I guess. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so I'm still filming this, and I don't know how to do that, how to turn it off. Is that it? Okay, guys, bear with me. I don't know how to turn this off. I don't want to lose it.